Do you have a hard time to create some safety rating in Le Mans Ultimate? Are you always getting into collisions? Are you always over pushing the car, spinning out, losing positions and losing safety rating? You want to watch this video because in this video I will talk about how I approach safe driving, overtaking people, getting into the situation where we actually gain by driving safely, and how to deal with aggressive, dirty drivers. Because sometimes they're just there and we need to have a good strategy to not crash with them, at least. So I really recommend to watch it all the way from the beginning to the end, because I have a philosophy how I approach these races. Let's get into it. And in the end I will also show a setup change that you can make on your GT3 cars to get a little bit faster than everyone else. So in this video, I will talk about how I always improved my safety rating during my races and the approach I take in Le Mans Ultimate to drive somewhat competitive, but just focusing on bringing that safety rating up. Because in my opinion, when you get into the silver safety ratings, you can get into more events. And I really believe if you're around people that have higher safety rating, I have just this belief that your overall chance of having clean races are bigger. So let's talk about that. We're gonna go into a race and I will show some like racing philosophy, how you can approach being somewhat competitive, but just having a focus on building up that safety rating. And yeah, let's go. And how that also creates opportunities for you to actually gain positions at the same time. Now this was an LMDH, like a hypercar race that I got into because my safety rating is higher. And I will show a little bit how that looks here. Clean races, no contact. And you get 20% by doing that. So I had a 1 invalid lap. All of them were clean. I had a great race start. I didn't have any contact. And then that will push you up like 20% in this instance. Now, the reason how I created this was by safe driving, being like 85% of my limit, and just making sure I didn't spin, heating up the tires properly. And that was basically it, right? Now, I'm not a beginner. I'm doing this already for a very long time, but I'm approaching this with a lot of margin. So I don't use the absolute 100% of the track. I am not on the perfect braking point. I brake early a lot of times. And this gets me into these positions. We're gonna look at a nicely cut down replay, and there I will explain my Racecraft strategy and to secure my safety rating as much as possible, because this race was an absolute mess. And I will explain here what I did, the choices I made that got me into 8th place. This is actually an intermediate race, which is kind of interesting because I was counting on being the race is way more cleaner, but for the purposes of this video, that really shows you how easy it is to lose some safety rating and how sometimes colliding with another car might not be the worst case. So have a look. We had a lot of contact here with different cars, like 3 times we had contact with this person, bro, why? And you will see that in the video now, explaining race start and some important moments where it's kind of making or breaking your race at the same time. So let's get into it. Okay, so the race start. This is actually an intermediate race. It's on a popular time of the evening, so then there's actually some cars there, but the intermediate races, they're not always people to compete with. And there's a little bit of a gap between what the fastest drivers are and the slowest. So you got a lot of inconsistency there, and that's creating a lot of chaos in this lobby, as you will see in this race. Now, when we're starting the race, this is like the setup that I have here that have just more like a lower packer distance, and that made my car just overall a bit quicker. Now, I like to run traction control 7, 1, 6 settings with the highest brake ABS. So let's get into the first situation. Now I take this approach very carefully. I tried to create distance around me. Over here something happened I had to avoid. Also here we got kind of lucky. These players, they collided, and now we're up like cleanly, and we have this car to consider here, and I'll just let him go, because this corner on Imola, I mean, it can only turn sideways, and a little bit of a problem here because I was like too careful, but then you could see how the carefulness actually paying off. He was way too aggressive, and I kind of sort of intuitively feel that, like, oh, you're gonna be so all over the place, so I'm gonna be careful with you and just let you by, and yeah, we'll gain that position. We're never gonna see him again. So next situation over here, I believe we get overtaken here as well. I take the safe lines, and yeah, what's actually happening? I don't remember. I just cut it out the most interesting part, so there's definitely gonna happen here something. So I will just keep focusing on driving my lines, being on the safe side. And over here, at this point, we have another yellow flag. He's on the outside here, and I just want to farm safety rating. So we touch here, and again we touch. But that's the fun thing about Le Mans Ultimate, you don't get like punished for this, right? So you can actually wheel bang a little bit, and that's only taking up like a percent of the safety rating in the end of the race. These touches aren't penalized that heavily, in my opinion. Hey, and if you're liking this content this far, could you please hit that like button? That really helps me out. And also check out my Patreon. I have a free tier list with additional info about Le Mans Ultimate, Assetto Corsa Competizione, sim racing in general, and also consider a small subscription. That really helps me out massively. Let's get on with the video. So here we can see that he's actually pretty quick driver. The Lepa Yeste. Now, he overtook a lot of cars. I think he did a bad qualifying. That's another nice example of you not being able to qualify quickly. Like here, he has contact again. That's also an important reason why I let him by, because these drivers that like are very aggressive and just want to gain positions, go ahead. I think those kinds of drivers put you in very dangerous situations. And yeah, so this car as well, he's sending it fully. Go ahead, I want to keep that safety rating, I will chase you down. And I always have the feeling that these aggressive cars, they really want to push hard. They're gonna do that everywhere, and they are gonna probably collide further down the line. So we're now in P12, and you will see in this race how that P12 will actually start improving. Now again, I'm focusing on creating safety rating. So a lot of people say, oh, you just let people by. Yes, I did. And sometimes I'm a bit more too much on the careful side, but take note in this race what's gonna happen as we progress into the race. So now you can see that he's actually making a mistake. He's running wide, bro. Now, next situation, we're getting pretty close-ish, but there's a lot of cars here in front. And you could see, I don't know if you could see it, but on the front, that was the guy that was really aggressive. And he's like cutting the track here, and he's making a lot of mistakes. And you have all these different cars trying to squeeze out, get ahead that one position, and we are just very safely on the back, enjoying the view, how this is all gonna turn sideways in a few moments. That's what someone has like a blue flag. Now over here, we're getting very close, and that's a position, a very clean overtake. That Ferrari actually gave up on all that battles. I'm not sure what happened to him. So again, now the field is kind of settled again. I almost lose it here, oopsie. And next situation. Now we're getting closer, and oh man, you gotta love that dust. Yeah, that's really good in this simulation. Now again, I'm just chasing them down, and I have still a clean race. We're in a good spot, P11, but it's gonna get even better at this point because yeah, the clean driving is kind of helping me out here. Again, I am also early braking. I'm not like taking a lot of risks. I want to drive the lines properly. And over here, obviously, accidentally got a little bit of a track limit. We have a few cuts in this track, but it's not a lot. Okay, what's the next situation? Ah yeah, here we go. So he loses it, the guy that overtook us earlier, and here we snoop a few positions. Nice corner here, great exit speed, and we gain a bunch of positions. So now we're on P8, right? The guy that spun in the McLaren, yeah, there's already a few examples here of him spinning. He's gaining a lot of positions, but he's also creating lots of chaos. And he probably didn't get the safety rating because he's colliding with everyone all the time. And just having an intuitive feeling that how an aggressive driver kind of screws up everybody's race, I try to like stay away from them as much as possible. Now we get into the next situation where I can almost overtake this McLaren, but we're not quite getting there. I have a little bit of a bad exit here, and this sir in this red McLaren again here, go ahead mate, try to make more collisions in front of you and we're just gonna spectate how that's all unfolding. Now obviously I don't really like these kind of drivers. They're really fast but they're not clean, right? So I just let them by, and I don't want him to screw up my race because it's very easy for these guys to make collisions. Now let's he's like overtaking this car. He's really fast driver, I'm gonna give it to him, but yeah, I believe we get into collisions here as well. He's like early on the brakes, now he's overtaking him. I believe I can overtake now this McLaren because of this action, so I can actually get into the slipstream. And I think this car is smart as well. I think he just gives up. I'm sending it here. And he's like, okay man, have that position. And now we're chasing down the fast driver, who was really all over the place. And I cut a lot of footage out of the video because like it's very boring, right? To see this and me talking like blah 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 and out whatever, nobody cares. I don't know. So later on, over here as well, he's like fighting the car. And over here I think maybe I can just overtake him. So I'll just push it here. Take the corner, the inside line. I believe I have a proper exit, but he also has a great exit. Now I still have this on the back of my mind, like he's dirty driver, he's pushing. Now I have the inside corner here. Now if I would be him, I would just like wait. But he keeps pressing, we make contact here, and I believe we had 3 times the contact. And he's just not giving up. And in this corner, obviously, yeah, he has the advantage. Now I have the advantage, I'm on the throttle, I'm like, you know what? Go ahead. Because we have the gap behind us, and I'm kind of waiting for him to make a bigger screw up in this race. So, because he was all over the place already in front of me, like the laps beforehand, the stuff that I cut out, he was like going wide, hitting the gravel, over braking and under braking, being too much on the throttle over here as well. Immediately a lock up, you know. So I was kind of waiting for him to make a bigger mistake and just leave him once and for all. Now, I don't know what he did with his car setup, because I believe there's a setup changes that really make you fast. Again, he's over braking this point, but I kind of just wait. And the sad thing is, at the end of the race, we didn't overtake him. But the chances are pretty big that these kinds of drivers kind of like screw it up for themselves at some point. Here again, they're just over the limit. And that also shows that the game is pretty forgiving on the mistakes you make. Here as well, all over the place. Broheim. So I'll just wait for him to make the bigger mistake so he loses it, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Now again, to summarize this race a little bit, I'm very passive in the duels. I will send it if I get the chance, if I see a clean overtake, but my focus is mainly not touching the other cars. I believe we get very close to him here as well. And the most horrible thing is that guys from the back are starting to close the gap to us, because he's all over the place and he doesn't want to give up the position. And my advice to him, I don't know, but if you're under pressure and you make mistakes all the time, how much fun is that? I can imagine you want to have that position, but sometimes it's better to let somebody else pass and then chase them down instead of just trying to push as hard as you can, making all of these mistakes. And Over here I make like a chat message like, come on man, be more clean, bro. If you're here in the video, then thanks a lot, man, because like watching the video fully, absolutely amazing. Thank you for that. Let's go into the car setup changes I did on Imola. What I usually do with setups, I push the battle force to 70 and I tend to drive higher brake bias. Now, aliens, fast people say lowest brake bias, but this is creating a situation where you don't lose it under the braking. In the fast corners, it helps a lot. Now, what you can do to increase the pace of your car is the packer distance. Bring it down. Also this one. Bring it down. Now, what does this do then? Well, this creates more suspension travel. And I explained this in the set of course competizione. This means the car will be lower on the fast situations and on the moments where we hit curbs, so we get more tire efficiency at the cost of some extra body roll and body movement. So you need to be, as theory, race theory, setup theory says, you need to be a bit more sensible with your inputs, but there will be more grip available in the car. And this will just make you that a little bit quicker. Now, I need to make videos about setups and I'm doing a lot of testing at the moment. So if you really want to get into these setups and you think, man, make some videos, maybe we can, I don't know, leave me a comment down below what you think. Also let me know what you think about my race theory, how to get up that safety rating and all that good stuff. Thanks for watching.